the Becoming You show with me, your host, Leah Rowling. Do you believe you are capable of choosing your future? Sometimes it takes just one person to believe in you, or you to believe in yourself. If you find yourself continuing to say, someday I will take better care of myself, only to continue living the same day over and over and over again, then you, my friend, are in the right place. I am your biggest cheerleader, inspiring you to become you on purpose and with intention. Are you ready to create a life you love? I'm excited to share with you some big ideas that you can use today to inspire, impact, and influence your life and everyone in it. The Becoming You show starts now. Hello, friends. How are you? I hope you're amazing and awesome and fabulous. I know I am. I had just an amazing break. We generally go to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, pretty much almost every spring break. And as the kids get older, they don't love, sitting on the beach as much. And so it was a very action-packed trip. We did cliff jumping, and we did waterfall hiking, and we met a gentleman by the name of Jack. And he, every once in a while you meet somebody that will forever change the way that you want to show up and change the way that you think and feel. And Jack was that for me and my family. He just kind of took care of us, and all of us were like, we'll see you next time. We got his number. I mean, it was awesome. So I just wanted to share that with you. It was an incredible break. And now we are scrambling and trying to catch up from our vacation, which I allowed myself to just let it take however long it takes. I was just talking to a client about the rush and the needing a vacation from your vacation. And I just offered him, we don't need a vacation from our vacation. We just need a different perspective. And the perspective is that we don't have to have it all done the day we get back. If the kids have to eat some cereal that next morning because I don't have groceries, it's okay. Actually, they were thrilled because they rarely ever get Lucky Charms and Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and that's what was available to them. So anyway, I am excited to share one of my very favorite truths with you all today. So I'm so happy that you're here. And this is what that truth is. If you are a human being right now, listening, breathing, you are both terrific and terrible. Okay? This 50-50 experience is so important to understand and integrate into who it is that we are. This idea that in order to understand the positive in the world, we must also understand the negative. And that is how we create balance within our lives and the world. And once we know that, not just logically, but emotionally, our life will forever be changed. When we are better able to understand this, we are also better able to understand other people who, P.S., by the way, are also terrible and terrific, right? We are more accepting of situations and circumstances that, again, are both terrible and terrific. And we can better embrace our emotions that are both terrible and terrific, and allowing for the world to be what it is instead of what we think it should be, which for most of us is better, more positive, more terrific. It gives us such tremendous peace. When we both know and feel the dichotomy of this gem, we can recognize that there is both evil and good in the world, and nothing has gone wrong. And it will never be any different, and it isn't supposed to be. Understanding this for me has relinquished my strong convictions that the world should be better, that other people should be better, that I should be better. And it has significantly lowered the daily stress and the unnecessary suffering that I created for myself by trying to outrun this reality. And yet, this conversation would not be complete without sharing the other truth, right? I believe that balances out this 50-50. And that is, despite the terrible, right, we are still 100% worthy, complete, and lovable. And if you have breath, you are worthy. and that nothing that you do can make you any more or less worthy. Nothing. Okay. And when I say this, right, people say to me, so Leah, people can just do whatever that they want and not be held accountable. And that is not what I teach. I teach that your worth is set, but that yes, there is liability for your actions, that you are responsible for your behavior, but your behavior doesn't define who you are, right? Rather, what you have done. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that I offered that up because I think it's really important when we consider both truths. Truth one, that you're 100% worthy and there's nothing that you can do to be more worthy or not. It is set. And truth two, that we are both terrible and terrific. And I know, at least for me, when I tried to outrun the terrible parts of who I was, I became more terrible. I pretended that I had it figured out, which led me to not sharing my true thoughts and my true feelings. So essentially just lying and ruining my chance to connect authentically with anyone. This idea of being perfect, meaning being terrific all the time and always falling short, was so shaming that I literally tried to run from my life. The opposite, friends, of trying to live it. And so when we want so desperately for others to see the terrific in us, right? If you were like me at all, but scared that they might also see the terrible, we sabotage and, well, we hide. And we not just hide the terrible, but we hide our terrificness because we don't either want to be seen starting small, or we don't want people to think that we are an imposter, meaning that we are pretenders. And we lose our belief in ourselves because we think that our terrible trumps our terrific. That the worst of us wipes out the best in us. And this is not how it works. Please hear me say this. Remember, we are all a combination of the T's. Your terrible doesn't trump your terrific. They balance it out. So if that's true, okay, and just come on board with me for just a minute. If that is true, and if we are supposed to have some terrible in us, could we find more compassion in our imperfections? Could we extend more grace in our flaws? And could we do this for others? So let me address the elephant in the room because I get it all the time. I do. Leah, if I accept my terrible, won't I be more terrible? And if you haven't done this work, you might be inclined to say yes. If I'm supposed to be terrible and so is everyone else, then why would I even bother? Why wouldn't I just be terrible all the time? I get the inquiry. I actually do. But that is when knowing a bit about human behavior comes in handy. You see, shame is not motivating. I say this a lot, but it's true. Shame says hide. Shame says, don't be terrible. You shouldn't be terrible. You should be better. Shame says something is the matter with you, that you're not more terrific. Shame says that you should be more terrific. Shame doesn't invite us to love ourselves, all of ourselves, the good and the bad. Shame conditions our relationship with ourselves. Think about this. It's why I teach, in order to lose weight, you have to start accepting your weight. And people say, well, if I accept my weight, won't I just gain a bunch of weight? And I say, no, you won't gain a bunch of weight because you won't find yourself in a pantry eating a bunch of donuts to escape from the shame. Does that make sense? So when was the last time you thought about the traits about yourself that make up the terrible part of you? The parts of your personality that create results for you that perhaps you don't like. Maybe that's being lazy, or maybe that's procrastinating. Maybe that's being impatient or rude, or maybe that's judging. Maybe that's not honoring your word or your commitments. Maybe that's talking bad about someone behind their back. Maybe that is lying to advance your position. Whatever it is, can you just notice it and realize that you probably have a good reason? And again, I'm not saying that we have to approve of our behavior. Okay, acceptance doesn't mean approval, but leverage and growth is only available when you accept what is. What about the mistakes that you have made, the promises that you didn't uphold? Where do you feel you fall short in the world according to what social media deems to be acceptable? Where have you called, where have others called you out on your terrible? What do people offer you as opportunities, room for improvement? And if we were not judging ourselves so harshly in shame, thinking that we should not be flawed in some way, we could better listen to how we have opportunities to evolve our own personhood. So my question is to you, do you get defensive when someone offers you feedback or a redirection, if you will? And I'm not saying I do it perfectly, but I am way better, like way, way better than I used to be. For me, if someone mentioned that what I did was hurtful, oh man, I became super defensive. It would be so upsetting to me that someone could think that I could hurt them. It went against every ounce of my existence, every ounce of me wanting to be liked, me wanting to be kind, me wanting to be caring and generous, and hurting someone was quite the opposite of that. That I would immediately get defensive and tell them all the reasons why their feelings didn't matter, that they must be wrong about the way that they are seeing the situation, right? That's what I would say, right? Because it couldn't possibly be me. Or I would just excuse my behavior away, not take ownership for it, because I didn't realize that my terrible didn't make me less of a person. It completed me as one. I want to say that again. Our terrible doesn't make us less of a person. It completes us. And from this place, and from this place only, it's the only place that I have gotten true peace, true leverage, true invitation to explore opportunities for my growth. And from that place, I am way more accepting of people's opinions of me. I am way more understanding when people in my life bring me ways in which I have hurt them. I don't have to defend. I don't have to get mad. I get curious. It's another invitation for me to accept and honor them in this situation, because they have feelings and they are a combination too, friends, of both terrific and terrible. And I can honor me and my terrific and terrible and them from a place of openness and not stubbornness. I can listen without immediately countering with all the ways that they are wrong and I am right. And I can take what they offer with strong consideration that this is what I could work on, should I choose to. And I generally choose to, because it supports my next becoming, my next evolution of myself. But when I'm not in a position to hear the terrible, because about what I make it mean about me, this growth opportunity is not available. So instead of making terrible mean that I'm flawed, that I'm a design defect, that I'm not enough, can I just make it mean that I'm a human? Instead of making terrible mean that in order to tip the scale to terrific, I have to break my back and my boundaries to be more terrific, more great. And I've said this, but I'll say it again. The two do not negate each other. They balance each other. And for me, this was so freeing because I could receive the feedback without belittling myself, but also not needing to be right. So if you could accept the terrible without making it mean that you are less than, if you could accept the terrible without a shield of armor, what would that look like? For me, I'm impatient. And so my requests can come across rude. I can be incredibly dramatic and I can lose my cool and I can be super quick to temper and I'm highly frustratable. And I know it's not a word, but if you've been with me long enough, you know, I make words up all of the time. My family, I've probably said this before, they call it Leahish, okay? I'm highly frustratable, okay? I can also be selfish and I can be unkind. And these are some of my many terribles. And I could go on, but I won't, other than to say, before I started doing this work, there is no way I would accept, let alone acknowledge these faults. Because for what would people say? There's another one that I worked on, caring so much about what other people think that I would literally pretend and people please, AKA lie, about who I was, call that ingenuine, call that inauthentic. And I had so much shame about who I was that I thought being anyone other than me was the answer, which just created more problems and no one knowing me at all. including myself. And so when I let go of this notion of perfection, AKA 100% terrific, and embrace my imperfection, I had leverage to get support, help, mentorship. I like to think of our imperfections as our life's curriculum. And when we learn to accept our terrible as part of our human experience, meaning nothing has gone wrong, and instead of resisting or reacting to it, we accept it and learn from it. And so there are two parts of this conversation that I find super interesting. First is most people have lots of things about themselves and within themselves that they don't like. And they think that they should be better. And rather than leaning in with curiosity and compassion, they just shame themselves with judgment and jealousy. And secondly, most people don't celebrate their terrific. Usually when I ask my clients what they love about themselves, they're not sure. Right? And I don't know if they are unsure because they really don't know what they like, or they're just not sure about how much to share. So they share just enough to answer the question, but not too much because they wouldn't want to appear like that they were braggish. I find that all super fascinating. So what if I told you I want you to brag? What if I told you I want you to tell me all the ways that you were amazing and you're awesome and you're terrific? What are you good at? What do you love to do? What have you accomplished? What have you cared for? What good have you put in the world? When was the last time you allowed yourself to brag? Do you have a person to brag to? If not, please get one. I think the reason that so many of us get discouraged, that we let the chaos and the crises get the best of us, is because we've forgotten all of our wins. We've not integrated our terrific into our identity. We've just cemented the terrible, even though we're not willing to freely accept the terrible. I truly, truly believe that if we just allow our terrible, the more that we can celebrate and live into our terrific. If we were just to allow the terrible, we could truly celebrate and tap into our terrific. So the premise, I suppose, that I am making in this entire conversation is that we're doing this work, right? You are doing this work. You are listening to this. You are interested in self-improvement, social impact, making a difference, that you are looking for ways to improve your life, your relationships, and how you show up in the world, that you are dedicated to love and to live and to grow and to expand. So when we share our terrific, it's not in pride. It's not because we're so, boastful, right? And when we embrace our terrible, it's not that we don't want to be better in this area of our life. It's just that we are free from fixing, free from perfection, free from needing to be better. Acceptance allows us not to need better, rather choose better for our life. Because I've said this before, but there's no freedom in need. When you need something, that's from scarcity, but rather choose something. And so what would it look like if you got real honest with yourself about areas of terrible, AKA growth for yourself, without thinking that anything went wrong, without wishing that you were different, without needing anyone else to be different? Acceptance is the gateway to growth. What would it look like if you got real honest about your terrific? Look, I don't know you, but I know that you are incredible and that you are amazing. And there's more for you in this life. And what more, truly, what more do you have to do? What more do you have to endure? What more obstacles and struggles do you have to face to realize that? What? What is it that you think you have to do to know, to become, in order for you to accept right now that you are terrific? I believe that what we have to accept right now is that we're not supposed to be terrific 100% of the time. I think that is what sabotages us from accepting that we're terrific, because we're not willing to accept the terrible. So I think for me, it was that I had to accept that I fell short sometimes, that I created results in my life that I didn't like, and that I was terrible in ways for me, to truly accept that I was also terrific. I think it is in the contrast that brought this to life for me. In seeing and accepting the terrible, it illuminated the terrific for me. When accepting my less than great wasn't available for me, accepting my great wasn't either. So where do you feel you fall short? Is it in your parenting? Is it in your marriage? Is it in your leadership? Is it within yourself? I know for me, I compare my motherhood to that of my mother. I had this idea of what a perfect mother should look like, AKA no such thing. And I always fell short. Did that make me a better mother? Shaming my awfulness? No, it made me worse. Because every time they would do things that I didn't think they should, it wasn't because they were boys acting out of agency and their free will. It was because I was a bad mom. If I was a better mom, that they would act better, that they would keep their rooms clean, that they would not act out, that they would not fight each other, that they would not lie, that they would care about their homework, that they would take the darn towels up the stairs. And I would look for proof for all the ways that I was an adequate mom, right? Like I don't make cupcakes or really any baked goods for that matter, right? Good moms do that. I let them stay up too late. Good moms don't do that. I probably let them have too much time on their technology. Good moms don't do that. I'm not as strict as I should be. Better moms are stricter. Or sometimes I'm too strict. I'm more strict than most moms. And best moms have it figured out perfectly. The most peace came to me when I just accepted the truth. You wanna know what the truth is? Leah, sometimes you're an amazing mom, terrific. And other times you aren't. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that I'm not trying to be a better mom for them because I want to. But my worth and my humanity doesn't require me to. Do you see this? I can ask, and I do frequently, hey, how can I be a better mom for you? How can I better support you? What hat do you want me to wear? Do you want me to wear my friend hat, my coach hat, my mom hat? The same is true in my marriage. This is an area where I've had the most growth, a podcast for another day for sure. But when I found acceptance around the idea that I'm a pretty decent wife, but I'm also not, I'm not crippled by shame, but rather curious on how I can grow into the best I can be so that I can share that version of me with him without defense. When I can level up my capabilities in conflict resolution, when I can be aware that I lacked a lot of conscious thought patterns, or that I showed up from incredibly unconscious programming that didn't allow me to really be the best wife that I could be. And when I allowed myself to be like, okay, that it didn't take away, again, it doesn't take away from our humanity and our worth. It just confirms that no, we are humans. And we can either use the terrific as curriculum, or we can use it to shame ourselves into more less than terrific. Okay? So this work is so, so important. And I hope that you will join me in doing it. I want to invite everyone listening, right? That listening to this podcast is one way, and I hope you find it a great way to increase your awareness and to invite you and to challenge you to choose more for your next becoming, not because you need to, but you choose to. And if you want to take your life and your results and 10x them, join me for coaching. And if not me, there's 1,000 coaches out there. I like to think that coaching is a journey of discovery and decision-making and performance improvement and better living and peace and joy. And I don't know another person on the planet that doesn't want more of that for their life. And so if you want more for you, for your life, you want more peace, more joy, more connection, more aliveness, more meaning, in your minutes, in your days, book a strategy call with me. They're completely free right now. And we can at least figure out where there might be opportunities for you to grow and to expand and to accept and embrace the terrible and the terrific. Can you do both? And sometimes I know for me, I'll always have a coach because I know that my brain, unsupervised and unmanaged, doesn't reveal itself and it will have blind spots. And that is for my coach to work through with me. And I'll always have a coach because I don't want to be sabotaged and stuck in my blind spots. And I don't want you to be either. So grab a call, snag a call, and we will unpack some of this stuff. And if you like it and you think it could be fun and meaningful and empowering, then we'll take it to the next step. If not, then you just got a little bit more perspective and you just have some areas and some curriculum for you to work on and grow in. So anyway, have an amazing one, everybody. Accept that you're both terrific and that you're terrible and nothing has gone wrong. It's just part of being a human. And I love each and every one of you. Have a great one, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Becoming You show with me, your host, Leah Rolling, where I share big ideas to inspire, impact, and influence your life. Tune in every Friday at 11 Central on transformationtalkradio.com for your morning cup of coffee, the hug you never want to end, and that inspirational message that you felt was written just for you. Each show is inspiring you to become you with purpose and intention. For more information or to connect with me, visit www.leahrolling.com.